I built a film and content creation studio, and maybe you're wondering, I've thought about that. Should I do that? I'm Rob, and I've been running a video business for 6 years and in the industry for almost 20. The answer is maybe, and it is up to where you are currently at in your career. For context, we are in my studio right now. I didn't even have the idea for this space until February, even though I've always thought of having one like most of us do. And this space opened June 1st of this year, 2024, currently in July, towards the end of July. And it's been pretty cool. And by pretty cool, I mean that it's paying for itself at the moment. Maybe not all the gear in here, but at least the monthly expenses are being met. And the biggest upside is the location I chose. If you were to go onto a Facebook group, which is what I did, and you were to ask, hey, in your area, who here, would rent studio space and what do you want from it? You're gonna get a lot of stuff. Well, I want a cyc wall and I want a 20-foot garage door. I want to be able to drive in and I want to be, all this gear and blah, blah, blah. And then you got to look at what market am I in and who will be utilizing this space most? Is it the person that gave you all those details of what they would want? Or is it a business that wants to create content? Or is it yourself creating stuff for yourself and for your clients? By knowing that, you can then start to discern what should you be looking for in a space. Because if I listen to everybody in the local Iowa film groups, which are great people, I'm gonna get a lot of industry specific things focused on creating film. Those people aren't renting my space on a daily, weekly, or even monthly basis. So for me to cater to them, at least in my market, doesn't make sense. If you're in a massive market, LA, Atlanta, maybe you're in Dallas, or maybe you're in New York, you can cater to those types of people because those types of things are happening so frequently that it makes sense to do that. However, if you are in 95% of the rest of the country, creating a space that's catered towards just industry specific people like that can be a little detrimental. But it just means that I kind of looked and I did a few things with the space that maybe I didn't need to do. Maybe I could have done less of or just not done it at all. And that's where doing a little bit of research onto, this would be cool if this happened versus what's the actual likelihood of this happening. I switched it more to the people who are actually renting it, which is businesses using it for content creation, podcasting, photo shoots, headshots, right? And those people don't necessarily care nearly as much or if at all about things that you and I would typically care about. And so I'm in this very unique space that I have this space that is very well put together, but it also is now being transformed into something that works well as a sort of, turnkey system for a business to come in and just create content and leave. And I think that's a really great place to be in. But if you're limited on budget, you need to really only focus on one of those things and just tackle that. And it also helps for your messaging because, initially I was like, well, I'm going to aim for people that are like me. And that marketing hits a very certain type of person and it doesn't hit the other, right? When it turns out that if business is who is actually going to pay me the money every month and the creatives aren't, then my messaging needs to go to businesses. And if I didn't notice that and I was still pushing it towards creatives and I'm sitting here making no money because I'm not even on the business's radar, that's a problem. And then that's where you can go under. Luckily, because of my main production company, the studio was just kind of an add-on, a nice to have. I had clients that would need some studio work every now and then. Nothing in the area. There's some photography studios, but they aren't treated for sound, and it's just not ideal. A lot of the photography studios are in old buildings with wood floors, and you hear people creaking and walking all around you, and there's loud train horns nearby. So having a space that I can just come into and film is amazing. And having a space that's not in my home or in my basement is like double bonus. So having a studio in a space surrounded by other businesses, other people, keeps me part of the community. And it's also made me just more, I'm doing so much more, because before at the house, you're so distracted, right? Because you're sitting there and you're doing an edit, you're doing something, and then you hear the engine of the mail truck. Oh, I can go get the mail. Then you're working. Then you hear the load of laundry finish, and you need to go switch it. Okay, I'll do that. All those things, even though they might only take a minute max, 2 minutes, 3 minutes, are micro distractions that are taking you out of a flow state that prevents you from getting stuff done. I would say that ever since I moved into my own space away from my house, I'm like 5 to 10 times more productive, easily, because I don't have those micro distractions that are taking me out of what I was doing. Because to get back into a rhythm once you've been taken out of it, I'm sure you've experienced this. It's not so easy just to get back in there and go full steam ahead. I mean, those micro distractions alone could be costing you tens, if not hundreds of dollars per year. And you just don't know it because you're just so content and you've been doing it. And it's so normalized in our industry to just,
I just work from home, got a home office, everything's great. Yeah.
Well, unless you are productive, like the entire time, 8 a.m. to 5 p.m., then you're not as productive as you can be. If you have a studio space, you now have something that you have to pay for, and it can force productivity. So if you are somebody that has been slacking, ADHD brain, you don't have that much drive, and you know that you need something that can push you. So with me, I have ADHD. I have to put myself into corners and put myself into very, very uncomfortable situations to force me to do something. So by extending myself to pay for a studio and to build it out, well, either I bankrupt myself and my family, or I figure out a way to pay for it. For me, having a studio space added a lot of drive, and I think that there's still even more drive, much more in the tank. I can push the pedal another 80% more. I feel like I've only just tapped the surface, but it feels like so much more than when I was just at home. If you're looking at a studio space and you realize, okay, I'm not going after creatives because I don't think that they're gonna rent my studio enough to pay for it. There are much better spaces in Cedar Rapids, Iowa that I could have built a studio rather than the 4th floor of a downtown building. But the hub that it's attached to that has so many businesses, and the building owner owns 19 buildings downtown, and their offices are right outside this door. It was a decision that was made intentionally, knowing that how excited he was about a creative space coming here into downtown that didn't really exist and that he didn't really have in his portfolio of businesses that are in his buildings. I knew that he would want to show people if it was done correctly. And that's exactly what's happened. Almost daily, if not multiple times per day, John and Dennis will come through my space showing business owners the space and what we've done. And all that's doing is making us more known in the community. And it's all business owners. And so it's our target demographic. It's just nice to have somebody that's out there being, almost a cheerleader, a spokesperson for your business. I don't have to go to networking events because I am the one that is being brought all the people that I would ever want to talk to at a networking event. Just being in this building has been a phenomenal introduction to a brick and mortar space, to the possibilities of what there is and what there could be. And then it also opened my eyes as to what could have been left on the table if I just stayed at home, being content, hanging out, watching YouTube videos, consuming content, instead of out here making content, out here being introduced to people that I can hopefully do business with one day. If you are looking at opening your own studio, make sure that you can support it by way of your main business you understand the terms and the terminology behind business leases. My landlord really wanted me here, so my rent covers everything, including utilities, internet, everything. That's all I have to pay. Many, actually, when you are looking at commercial properties to rent or lease, that's only for the building and maybe common area maintenance. But then you have to pay so many other things that a $2,000 a month property lease could be $3,500 when you factor everything else in. So you really need to make sure that you know exactly what you're getting into. Business leases last for typically 5 years on average. If you're going to build a studio, you want that actually. You don't want a 1 year, because if you built the whole studio out and then they decide to kick you out because you only had a 1 year lease, well, that sucks for you, because that's a lot of money that can go down the drain. If you're at a point where you have enough business coming in that you can support it, you can float it, I just think that you should really look at where you're at now, if you're leaving money on the table sitting at home, and if you're ready to be responsible for a space where you have to clean it, you got to lock up, you got to show up, you got to be there, because there's no point in doing this if you're just going to still stay at home all day.